Good evening and welcome to Insight Magazine here on I-24 News. Well, this week we take you on a journey in the old city of Jerusalem. Our team went and filmed on the Temple Mount, also known as the Esplanade of the Mosques. Well, it's the central area located above the Western or Wailing Wall and remains the most disputed religious site in the world. Well, as Judaism's holiest place and the third holiest site in Islam, it's closely monitored by security forces and Muslim religious authorities. Our reporter met with people there who believe that the area belongs to them and cannot be shared. And for now, they remain the core of the conflict. Well, here's The Temple Mount, The Battle for a Legacy by Henrique Cymerman for I-24 News. While Israelis and Palestinians dream of peace, their largest obstacle is located right here. It's a mountain the size of 18 football fields, the epicenter of many bloody clashes. The Temple Mount in Jerusalem, Harabait for the Jews, or Haram al Sharif, the Esplanade of the Mosques for Muslims. It's here that the sacrifice of Isaac took place and where the Prophet Muhammad ascended to heaven. So much faith and so much history for such a small area. This is where the two Jewish temples of Jerusalem were located. According to common belief, the Ark of the Covenant was hidden beneath the ruins. The Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 A.D. before they forced the Jews into exile, leaving only the western wall of the Temple Mount, the holiest site for the Jewish people. Centuries later, Caliph Omar built the Al-Aqsa Mosque here, and in the year 691, the Shrine of the Dome of the Rock, today covered in gold, was built right here, on top of the Santo Sanctorum, or spiritual heart of the Jewish temple, where the Ten Commandment tablets were kept. But now this area shakes day after day by the clash of two irreconcilable points of view, a place where the extremes face off against each other. The Mufti of Jerusalem, Mohammed Husseini, is the highest local Islamic authority for the last 8 years.
Any attack against Al-Aqsa Mosque would generate an outburst of anger, not only in the Middle East, but all around the world.
Do you think it is the most explosive place in the world? Is it true? No, I've never had that thought at all. I feel safer there than I do in my own living room. There is a dome there now. The dome is not a mosque. There is a mosque and there is a shrine. But, you know, that's because Islam took advantage of Jewish exile and squatted there, and then began a campaign of destroying all of the evidence and trying to convince the world that there never was a temple there.
In May 1967, Syria, Jordan, and mainly Egypt threatened Israel and swore to drive the Jews into the sea. The Voice of Cairo, an Egyptian radio station, tried to intimidate the Israeli public, making announcements in Hebrew. A few days later, the message was, what no one imagined, not even the Israelis, was that Israel would win the war in just 6 days, and that its paratroopers would enter the Lion's Gate in East Jerusalem, which until that time was part of the Kingdom of Jordan. Israeli soldiers defeated the Jordanian Legion and arrived at the western wall of the Temple Mount.
Look at the achievements of the Six-Day War. We returned to so many places Israel fought for, the Sinai, Judea and Samaria, and to the Temple Mount, which is the heart of it all. But we didn't want the Temple Mount enough. In fact, now it is not in our hands.
To restore the peace and quiet, the Israeli government decided to place the control over this holy site to the Waqf, the Muslim authorities under the King of Jordan. 400 Palestinian guards of the Waqf patrol the area constantly.
The Israeli authorities hold the key to the Mughrabi Gate, and people come in and out without coordinating with us, and some of them belong to Jewish radical groups. We keep saying we're not opposed to non-Muslims visiting, but it has to be coordinated with us. Everyone knows some of the radicals wish to detonate the Dome of the Rock and substitute it with a temple.
Jewish groups visit the place every day, accompanied by Israeli police and observed by agents of the Muslim Religious Authority. The director of the Temple Institute, Rabbi Chaim Richman, is building the ancient objects of the temple in preparation for the third temple.
We haven't had any progress in all of these years, but there's certainly a role for computerization, for elevators, for underground parking, and for all the things that we've become familiar with in our times.
And Muslims see it as a provocation.
You know what? Muslims see the fact that Jewish people are alive as a provocation too. This is the holiest place, the only holy place in the world for the Jewish people. I don't see what's provocative about moving my lips and saying, God, heal me or bring peace to the world. This is what it's all about.
According to the Islamic authorities, the Jewish temple was never built in Jerusalem. The former Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat stated in the Camp David negotiations in 2000 that the Jewish temple was actually located in Nablus and that he would never admit that the temple was in Jerusalem.
Of course, what President Arafat said about Haram al Sharif is true. The holy city is Arab since the Canaanite people and Islamic since the siege of Jerusalem until the Judgment Day. The Al-Aqsa Mosque belongs to Muslims only, and no Muslim is allowed to negotiate this decision of God. We say it and we will keep on saying it. This is the Al-Aqsa Mosque on its land, an Islamic mosque, and Muslims won't share it with anyone else.
They also say that the Holocaust never took place, but find my grandfather. So they say a lot of things, and it's part of the campaign to delegitimize the Jewish people. How can you Judaize Jerusalem? This is an expression that they use. We're trying to Judaize Jerusalem. The word Jerusalem appears over 700 times in the Bible and 0 times in the Quran.
In September 2000, the Likud party leader, the late Ariel Sharon, visited the area, one of the events that led to the outbreak of the Second Intifada.
Sir, what's your answer to those who say that you were a provocator?
What I have to say, I think those that say that, they're just misleading. But you have to know one thing. We speak about the holiest place for the Jewish people. We have been using the term Har Bayit now for, say, maybe 2,300 years. It's mentioned that the remains of the holiest place that we have. Only recently you started to use the term Haram al Sharif. What do you mean that? I'm really sorry for everything that happened, for the casualties, ours and Arabs. Everyone is a casualty. Every casualty is a tragedy. But the one who is responsible for that is only Yasser Arafat.
Yehuda Etzion is 62 years old. In the 80s, he created a terrorist group of 27 members. He's responsible for a car bomb that gravely injured 2 Palestinian leaders. But his main plan was to destroy the Dome of the Rock. The Israeli Secret Service, or Shabak, managed to dismantle the group on time, and Etzion served 5 years in prison.
Did you aim to bomb the Dome of the Rock?
Me and my friends, we thought, this was over 20 years ago, we were young, and we thought that a small group of people could change the face of things. In any case, I understood there are no shortcuts, at least not built on explosives, nor can a small group take upon itself to do something so big.
When he was released, Etzion adopted a different tactic. He decided to prepare the plans for the third temple with the help of architects. 22 of them declined the offer. The 23rd architect that he approached, Yoram Ginsburg, accepted the challenge.
Whoever controls Jerusalem controls the land of Israel. We cannot maintain Israel, and in that sense, Israel is the same as Uganda for me, as long as we don't control Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, and Judea and Samaria. It is the same as if we didn't come back. It is as if we did not create Zionism.
Etzion Ginsburg created the model of the Temple Mount and the old city of Jerusalem, proposing the election of a king instead of the current government.
This is 1 square kilometer, what we see here. Inside this area of 10 square kilometers, there will be 10 million people. 3 times a year that will concentrate here, coming from numerous immigration camps.
To do what? If I see well today, there are mosques over there. So what do you do?
There is no other choice but to plan, both in the architectural aspect as well as the cultural aspect. I believe that in the back of their minds they know the truth. They know they are squanderers. They know they stole from us. And they know that the Islamic period in the Temple Mount will be over.
Will you be able to build a temple in a peaceful manner?
I don't wish to pretend. I cannot be certain it will be possible in a peaceful way. I will say that our enemies only understand strength. I do not delude myself. This might not be possible without force, without a confrontation.
Do you think you're going to see the temple built in your life?
It doesn't even matter to me. I'm just a small cog in Jewish history, and all that I can do, hopefully, is to have the integrity to do the right thing. Maybe I will, maybe my children will, but that isn't my call. All I can do, though, is be able to say that I did the right thing.
However, what is clear to some is not clear to others.
I believe the whole world knows what would be the consequences if something happened to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. It would generate a holy war, because the Al-Aqsa Mosque is not only important to the Palestinian people. Given its historical, cultural, and moral value, it is important for all Muslims around the world and for the whole mankind.
This is one of the places on Earth that evokes major passions for 1.5 billion human beings. And today it's a powder keg, the site of an eternal confrontation and the battle for this ancient heritage. Now we're joined in the studio by Henrique Cymerman. Henrique, great to have you here again.
Good evening, David.
So I have to ask you now, looking at this report that we've just seen, do Jews really even go to the Temple Mount area? And if they do, how often?
Well, originally it was prohibited. They didn't go because the rabbis were afraid that they would walk in the Santo Santorum, the Holy of Holies, the place of the Ark of the Covenant. That was originally, in the time of the temple, only once a year in Yom Kippur, the high priest was allowed to go there. So there is a danger. But what happened recently, in the last year, 2 years, there are more and more Jewish groups allowed to go there, at least 10 groups a day, small groups of people, with Israeli policemen looking to try to avoid any kind of shocks and friction. But they are not allowed, the only way they can go is if they pray in silence. So that's what they control. But we saw situations there, as we shown in this story, that there was a danger of a shock between Jews and Muslims.
Past negotiations have basically always discussed this area. This has obviously been a point of discussion in all the negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. But how do past negotiations, how are they relevant today, and if they are at all?
David, this is really the highest obstacle, apparently, because it touches belief, faith, and it's not only a political problem. And we saw it in Camp David, the last day of Camp David summit in the year 2000, of Yasser Arafat, the Palestinian leader, Bill Clinton, the president, and Shlomo Ben Ami, the foreign Israeli minister at that time. He said to Arafat, Rais, if we give you the control, the sovereignty on the Temple Mount, but you write in the peace agreement that you will never touch underground where we have our heritage of the time of the temple, would you agree to have your flag in the Temple Mount? And Arafat's answer was no. And he said, and he explained, because I would never write in an agreement that the Temple of Jerusalem was really existed in the past. The temple was in Nablus, he said.
Well, obviously a point where there can't be any agreement on that, it seems. Well, thank you very much, Henrique, for bringing us this story.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching us here at Inside Magazine. We'll see you here next week at the same time.